Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of my Chasing Pink recap video. I'll throw a link to the first one somewhere around here so you can have a look at what I thought of stages 1 to 12. I've already got some good feedback on that one, so appreciate that. Going to go through the final week of the tour here, and as you can see, I'm wearing this nice little pink jersey which I've held since about stage 5. So I'm pretty stoked to be wearing this one into the final stage later today. So going into week 3, held a bit of an advantage, but two really close rivals. Teammate Josh Wilson, who've been riding together the whole way, and BB from over in the 10 PM Australian time slot, still within reach. So we went into stage 3 on the PRL half. This was 3 laps of Box Hill in London, and I was looking forward to this stage. I liked this climb. It didn't quite turn out the way we planned, and I'll go through what happened there now. So, coming into the last climb, this race had actually been a little bit easier than planned because there were no cheats. You can hear about all the cheats we faced in the first video, and then I'll talk about some more that we faced later in this video. We had some good riders though, such as Freddie Ovett, who joined a lot of the second half of the tour. And starting that final climb, Wilson decided to attack. This was a bit of a team move to make others chase and give me a bit of a free ride and keep me out of trouble for the final climb. Didn't quite work out the way we planned. I mean, it did in the fact that Wilson grabbed the win and hit a 5-minute PB of 7 watts a kilo, which is awesome to see. But yeah, we actually get gapped a bit here late. As you can see, Wilson goes off the front. No one probably had the legs to chase him, is my view on it, and I was just kind of sitting comfortably in the pack. Wilson opens up about 25 seconds with about a K to go, and we're having a chat. I'll ease off and just win it by a second because obviously the time gap GC, if I lose 25 seconds, that brings other riders back into the mix a bit. But the finish was a bit of a downhill into and up, and Wilson, when he stopped pedaling, his rider had momentum and just kept riding. So it got a bit scary there, and I know Wilson felt bad about it too, but he actually ends up winning this by quite a way, and my sprint was terrible because I saw it kind of unfolding, and I'm there stressing. So Wilson's rolling across the line at this point. You can see on the mini-map the custom finish. A great ride from Wilson, and in the end it's been no dramas, but puts about 9 seconds onto the peloton. I put in a horrific sprint because my mind's all over the place. Freddie, great sprinter, comes past as he does there. So a 4th place finish. Lost 8 seconds, as I said. So not quite the night that we had planned, but as I said, great to see Wilson get a stage win, boost his ranking, hit some good numbers, all that kind of thing. And the team were set up well heading into the last few stages. So we moved into a flat one now, I believe. So having a look at the route, we went to France flat. This was hopefully going to be a bit of an off night so we could get a bit of a rest. And luckily it was no obvious cheaters in the field that we could see. Pretty cut and dry race. Finished just after the aqueduct. So I'll take you through the last kind of kilometre of the race. On a downhill sprint, you want to be well positioned. If you position yourself well, you don't actually need to have that much power towards the end. And I found myself in a great position, had draft the whole way, executed a pretty nice sprint, and it was a good result on a course. With again, this time slot has world-class riders. It's very strong fields. So to come where I do in this one, it was really good. So I'm hitting good-ish numbers here, but I'm still very relaxed. In the draft, as you can see, always in the draft. Listen comes by in a moment. At speed, there's Listen on the way. I see Listen and go all in, up to the 900 watts type thing. Still get draft the whole way, roll in for a second. That's a good result. Really happy with that one. Wilson for 5th. Regulation, job done, and on to stage 15. Stage 15 was an interesting one. The jungle before the epic reverse KOM. Not only were there potential for bike swaps, there's a mountain, there were cheats, it was all happening. My plan was to stick with the climbing bike unless one of the contenders switched over to a gravel, such as like a listen or something like that. And then ideally, when we got through the jungle, I was just patrolling the back of the group and no one swapped bikes, which I was pretty happy with. Here you can see Monty Mezzo. He's done 615 watts for 20 minutes. So, yeah, he's a great rider. He's here telling, listen, you need to do more cardio, my friend. I'm sure the world #1 rider appreciates that feedback as you potentially ruin our GC. He dropped back here, which was nice, didn't impact the race in the end, but it was scary. And again, a bit of feedback for the tour is that having to chase these guys is a bit frustrating. It got solid up through the jungle at times, having to follow a few moves. This guy from Japan, again, unsure about him, not on Zwift Power. He was really having a crack. It gets a bit scary heading up into the Epic. You can see here, onto the Epic, we've still got a large group, and at this stage, we're a little bit behind that Japanese guy. I feel like with a group like this, there's some strong riders. There's Listen, Plantaroo, among others, that would hopefully get us back to that guy eventually, especially with the 3K rolly finish. Felt pretty good up the mountain. Listen had nice legs on the night, and he ends up having a fair dig around here as we're coming up kind of the last part of the Epic. You can see the red numbers here. Heart rate's been high. Gatesy's giving us a bit of support, telling me to muscle it out now and stay second wheel, which we're doing. I think 5 of us crest the Epic together. Listen, myself, Adrian, Planter, and a random Irish fella. So we just put a gap into Honda and Nile towards the top. And then this was the only PB that I did of the whole tour. And it's not one you'd expect. A mountain stage, we've done a 15-second PB. So we'll fast forward to that. The rollers were pretty regulation here. So as we're coming into the last 400, Honda and Nile are about to get back on. So I hit the front and just kind of keep the tempo high, and Listen just absolutely swamps me with momentum and a great sprint. I hang on for dear life to try and get his draft, hit 1,000 watts. And yeah, a new 15-second PB of 14.7 watts a kilo to only lose half a second here, which is a pretty good result on a very dangerous stage. So pretty pleased with that one. You'll notice Wilson didn't race this time slot. This was a bit of a team plan here. Wilson went to race the 10 p.m. time slot against the other contenders to try and put a bit of a gap into them. He won the stage. He had great tactics. It was entertaining. It didn't quite work out the way we planned, as one of the main rivals had a dropout of some sort and dropped out to the 10 a.m. Aussie time slot and grabbed the win there. So in terms of the time gaps, didn't actually achieve anything, but it was good for Wilson to go across and show that he's a strong rider and capable of taking those guys down. It was a great ride and a good stage for us. We then went into Surrey Hills, a really tricky one on paper, and we copped a good field. So that nighttime slot for us, we've got all the Europeans. So on the start list, you had the guys such as Listen, Ovette, and then probably the best climber on Zwift, Marshall Wu, rocked up. So when I saw Wu enter that start pen, I was thinking, oh shit, this is not good. He's a scary man with his numbers, but to win this jersey, you want to face the best. And so to say that we've come across Marshall Wu in a stage and still got this jersey on is it's a good feeling. So we'll head across to that stage now. Just playing some of the early data, and this was a real sign of respect from Wu, which I didn't even know. I've raced him a few times. Here he goes. Slow down and wait me, Harris, please. So that shows that he respects me. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I tell him to just relax as well and not do too much damage. This stage gets quite dicey, actually. So heading up into the second KOM, there's a guy, Torres from Spain, who put about 40 seconds into us. So pulling off the front, not on Zwift power at like 7 watts a kilo up the second climb. And this is against guys like Wu, Wilson, Ovett, and then there's Niall in there, myself, all 7+ watt a kilo 5 minute guys, and this Torres random fella has just put a massive gap on us. I think it gets pretty scary somewhere around here if I backtrack a bit, and I'm there thinking, oh damn, GC might be in a bit of trouble. Luckily our group descends pretty quick and catches maybe half of that 40-second gap, and then Freddie Ovett tried to bridge across to him, which was the moment of panic. If Freddie bridged across to this 6 watt Torres fella, then we could have been in a lot of trouble. So we really kind of got into our business quickly once that all happened. I think Freddie has a bit of a dig pretty soon. We'll watch that here. Yeah, here it is. I'm into 600 watts. Freddie's got 4 seconds up the road and about to latch onto that guy. This is panic stations. This is the tour on the line. Wilson comes past and keeps into those orange numbers, which arguably saves our tour in the end. We managed to get back on to Freddie and our new Spanish mate Torres, and then the pack kind of relax a bit, and we know from this stage we have to mark Torres. Obviously, in the draft it's a lot easier, so from there we didn't give him a meter. And then with the quality of guys like Wu and Ovett and stuff, you know, we were all looking at each other a little bit. Listen, unfortunately, has a dropout in this one, I think. And here we are, just about to get across. So into the final, up Fox Hill, I was messaging Wilson on Discord saying I was feeling good, had good legs, felt like I had a nice climb left in me, which is good. And Wilson said he'd work for me if he had to sacrifice himself to make sure it was all good. But the climb was contained for the first half. Wilson's on the front here with Niall setting a steady tempo. There's Torres. It gets pretty heated late. We'll fast forward to a bit of action. So we're heading up the Kickr with 800 to go. We're all in. Woo's there on the Tron bike. My plan at this stage was just to not let a gap open. It's starting to split up a bit behind. Freddie's there, as of course he will be. And I get a bit of momentum on this downhill, actually, and for some reason I kind of decide to just keep it going. In the situation, I felt like anyone behind could swamp us with a bit of momentum and be hard to come past, so I just get on the gas about here, which it means I've got no chance of winning, really, but you know, it means I'm not going to get beat by much, I think. And Freddie kicks past, of course, and it ends up being a 6.8 watt per kilo 5 minute, which is pretty solid given the ramp nature of what happened. So Adrian, who's had a good tour when he's been raced, and Freddie had a good battle. Myself and Wu come in for 3-4, half a second down. All good. Wilson, just a few seconds back there, did a lot of work for me on that stage, which I'm very appreciative for. Might have even tried to purposely give me back a few of those seconds from the other day, knowing the kind of man he is. So, ticking boxes, and basically the main time trial to go before we have this last stage. So the time trial, onto the routes, Innsbruck Conti. That's my favourite moment in cycling, is where I won the Continentals up there. So really looking forward to getting back to that course. Plan was to pace it pretty steady the first half and then ramp into the climb. We knew what we had to do based on the times that had been set in order to hold the lead. I was pretty confident I was going to go past Brett on the standings, given the buffer I had going in, which was nice. So it was mainly a battle between Wilson and I. So we'll take you to that now. The first 10 minutes around Innsbruck, Wilson and I paced it pretty similar, and both quite conservative. And then once we hit the mountain, I kind of went all in. I had a plan to average over 400 watts on the steep parts of the climb, and then basically be cooked with a K to go, because I know that the climb flattens at a K to go, and if you get there in the right spot, you're not going to lose. So we rode Tron bikes to keep it even. There might have been justification for a bike swap, but I was happy to roll the Tron bike, knowing it wasn't going to be massive advantages. Marshall Wu dropped a 24:37, I think, which was the time to beat. But again, I only needed to ride 26 minutes to be within 21 of Wilson to hold the jersey for the last stage. Heart rate at max very early on here. I'll probably go a little bit too deep. I pushed 6.4 or so the first 5 minutes of the climb with some flatter bits. And I did start to hurt in the second half of the climb. It was a bit vulnerable, but at that stage I could see my gap to Wilson was, I'd extended it a bit. And it probably took a little bit of the fight out of me, to be honest. You know, those hard situations where it's like all in, but I could see that I'd put 20-ish seconds into Wilson and that I was 20 ahead of him. I'm like, well, that's a 40-second buffer. It's going to be hard for him to catch me from here, and probably just weakened up a little bit, but that's fine. So I'll fast forward a bit towards the end. You can see here, this is the last part where I want it to be ruined, and I'd probably already just eased off a fraction at this stage, although I'm still pushing, some solid numbers up this steep part of the climb. But as you can see, the last 5 minutes only been at 5.7. So I dropped off a bit. The heart rate was a bit lower. At this stage, I'm pretty confident that I'm going to take this pink jersey into the last stage. So we will roll into the famous last corner, which I love, from the Continentals, and this is a great feeling as well. Just rolling in, pretty relaxed at this stage. I'm about 20 seconds slower than Woo on the stage, so that'll open up the time gap a bit, but it doesn't matter. It's all about the rivals who have done all stages. So crossing the line, I think bit of arms in the air. It's a good feeling. Now I've just got to get into Rome in one piece. Rome being London later on. So it's been a good tour. So if we take us across to the standings, this isn't updated for mine or Wilson's time trial. So Brett there at 1:39 is updated, given Wu won. I think I'll be at about 33, something like that. And Wilson will probably be at about a minute or somewhere around there. But we should have the 1-2 pending a nice stage. John, the tour organiser, wants us to tell the bunch tonight to roll easy until the last few K. Given Sunday night, that time slot, I don't think it's going to work. But hopefully, there's no super cheats out there that can take a minute into us tonight. So be a nice roll around, and hopefully we come home with this nice jersey. It's back to the Zwift Power here, just for a quick look. You can see this hasn't updated properly yet, but average heart rate of 173 out there today, which, again, that's solid. I think I might have done a 24-minute PB, given that my 23-minute PB from the Chasing Azul tour was a bit higher, and then it obviously drops off. So, not bad stuff there. You can see the 14.7. The only PB I did in the tour, a 15-second PB on a mountain stage. So, interesting stuff there. Just in a bit of reflecting on the tour before I go through the team's classification quickly. Look, I've enjoyed the tour. It's been stressful. The current system where cheats can ruin your tour in one stage. As I said, it makes you not want to try and chase it for the chasing yellow and just have fun and do all the stages, which I plan to do. Chasing some of those guys is crap, and then not only that, like there needs to be a bit more verification, even at the top. If you look through some of the top standings, there's a lot to be desired in some of the rider verification out there. Like I've dual recorded a good 10 stages or so of the tour, which can't be said for a lot of the other guys. Look, I'm sure they're riding well and stuff, but it just adds to your your validity if you're out there at least trying. If you've got a profile which doesn't mention anything about how you're an elite rider, it's or not doing the dual recording, like it's interesting. So happy to be in the pink jersey considering all that. And again, well done to everyone who has completed all 18 stages, because I'm sure that there are some valid guys out there. But stoked to be going 1-2 into the last one with Wilson. It's been awesome having him on Zwift, like a phenomenal outdoor rider who's just jumped across for a bit of a challenge, and to be able to work together and have Wilson work for me to get this pink is cool, and it's great to do it with a mate. So just wrapping up, we'll go through that team's class, which I don't think it's updated yet, and I think it's still a hotly contested battle, to be honest. So this hasn't fully updated with Wilson or my points. And there's Relentless on top. We might have a slight lead going into the final race, but it's all to play for. They've been catching us day after day after day. So we're going to need Gatesy to come out and race tonight. I think Gatesy's coming off the back of COVID. He could be our saviour for the team's class. So Gatesy, it's going to be awesome to have you out there tonight, mate. And mate, if you win the team's class, I'm sure Tully will be happy and shout you some Maccas or Infocrank or something. So it's been great. So well done to everyone who's watched along, followed along, raced some of the stages, got some motivation from it. I hope you've enjoyed some of the videos here. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Again, hopefully it's not too long. I'll add some chapters in for people to watch specific parts. But thank you. Ride on.